Welcome to our deep dive into the fascinating world of intelligence and creativity. You've given us a ton of audio lectures to work through. They're all about intelligence and creativity, and they touch on everything from like the nuances of language to
To the cultural forces that shape
yeah, mhm,
artistic movements.
it's quite an adventure.
Indeed it is. And what makes this journey so captivating is how it kind of reveals the interconnectedness of seemingly disparate topics.
Yeah,
Like, we've got everything from the subtle ways language shapes how we see things to the role of, like, cultural values in either, like, hindering or fostering creative breakthroughs.
yeah, and it's impressive the scope of these lectures.
Oh, for sure.
Like we're talking about how different cultures approach solving problems. We're going to delve into the emotional lives of mathematicians and artists, and we're even going to like uncover the impact of technology on art. It's wild.
Our mission is to extract the most potent insights from all this material and present them to you in a way that's hopefully going to spark some curiosity and expand your understanding of how we think and create and interact with the world around us.
Let's dive right in. The first part of our exploration focuses on language as a lens.
Oh, okay.
This section explores how the languages we speak don't merely label the world, but actually shape how we perceive reality.
If the language we use influences how we perceive the world, then speaking a different language could potentially lead to a different way of thinking.
That's wild. And the lectures provide compelling evidence to support this idea. Take, for example, the fact that Arabic has hundreds of words for camels.
Oh, wow.
Each word describes a specific nuance, a subtle distinction that English speakers might completely miss.
This abundance of vocabulary suggests that Arabic speakers may be more attuned to the subtleties of camels than those who speak languages with fewer descriptive terms. It highlights how language can act as a cognitive tool, sharpening our focus on specific aspects of our environment.
It's like having a high-powered lens that allows you to see details that would otherwise remain invisible.
Right.
And this applies not just to concrete objects like camels, but also to abstract concepts, emotions, and even our perception of time and space.
Precisely. The structure of language itself can impact our thought processes. The lectures contrast English with certain North American Indian languages,
Okay.
where you can't simply say, I see a man. The grammar forces you to include information about the state of action. Is he sitting, standing, or walking?
Wow. So the very act of constructing a sentence in these languages requires you to consider aspects of reality that English speakers might overlook.
Yeah. This suggests that speakers of these languages may develop a heightened awareness of movement and action. Their language necessitates a different kind of attention to detail.
It makes you wonder how many other subtle biases and perceptual frameworks are embedded in the languages we speak without us even realizing it.
Indeed. And speaking of languages that challenge our assumptions about how language works, the lectures delve into the fascinating world of Chinese, a tonal language,
Oh, yeah.
where the meaning of a word can completely change depending on the tone in which it's spoken.
I've always been intrigued by tonal languages. It's like adding a whole other dimension to communication.
Imagine this, a single syllable can have multiple meanings,
Right.
depending on whether it's spoken in a high, rising, falling, or dipping tone. It's like singing a song, where each note contributes to the overall melody and meaning.
So hitting the wrong tone in Chinese can lead to some serious misunderstandings.
Absolutely. The lectures recount an amusing anecdote about a foreigner who accidentally insulted someone by using the wrong tone.
Oh, no.
He intended to compliment the person's cooking, but the tonal mishap transformed his praise into an offensive remark.
Oh, that's a great example of how even a slight variation in tone can dramatically alter the meaning of a sentence. It makes me appreciate the precision required to master a tonal language.
And here's where things get even more interesting. Okay. While tone is crucial for distinguishing meaning in Chinese, it lacks inflections for things like tense or number. To understand the timing or quantity, you have to rely heavily on context and word order.
So it's like solving a linguistic puzzle. You have to pay attention to the entire sentence and even the surrounding situation to grasp the full meaning.
Exactly. This suggests that Chinese speakers may be particularly adept at picking up on subtle contextual cues in communication.
Mhm.
Their language encourages a holistic approach to understanding meaning.
This deep dive into the world of language is already shifting my perspective on how our words shape not just our communication, but our very thoughts and perceptions.
And that's just the beginning. If we move beyond words, we'll discover even more fascinating ways in which we represent and process information, opening up new realms of creative possibility.
Okay,
Let's go there.
so we've been talking about how language can really shape how we think about the world,
Yeah.
but What about like those times when words aren't enough? How do we express those feelings or ideas that you just can't describe with words?
That's a great question. And it leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive, beyond words.
Okay.
These lectures explore how thinking isn't confined to language alone.
Right.
We use different languages or modes of representation for
Right.
different types of ideas.
So it's like we have a whole toolkit of mental languages, words, images, sounds, sensations, each suited for expressing different aspects of our
Yes,
experience.
precisely. The lectures offer a compelling example from the world of music.
Okay.
The composer Gustav Mahler was once asked to explain what his music meant. His response, he just played it again.
What a brilliant way to illustrate the point. Sometimes words simply can't capture the essence of an idea or emotion. You have to experience it directly, hear the music, see the painting, feel the movement to truly grasp its meaning.
This reminds me of the physicist Richard Feynman, who argued that mathematics is the language of the universe. He believed that math is essential for understanding the physical world, but he also acknowledged its limitations in expressing things like love or the beauty of a sunset.
So it's like each language has its strengths and weaknesses.
Uh-huh.
Math might be perfect for describing the laws of physics,
Right.
but it might fall short when trying to capture the nuances of human emotion.
Exactly. And this brings us to a crucial concept from the lectures, the veil of conceptions.
Ooh, that sounds kind of ominous.
Yeah, it's the idea that our individual experiences, values, and beliefs act like filters,
Okay.
shaping how we perceive the world even when observing the same event.
It's like that saying, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are.
Yeah.
Our personal history and biases influence how we interpret everything around us.
The lectures provide a vivid analogy to illustrate this point. Imagine a traffic warden, a window cleaner, and a bird watcher, all looking at the same street. The traffic warden is focused on parking violations. The window cleaner sees potential customers, and the bird watcher notices the different species of birds flitting about. They are all physically seeing the same street, but their perceptions are colored by their individual roles and interests.
That's such a clear example of how our background and experiences create these mental filters that shape our reality. It makes you realize that even something as seemingly objective as observing a street scene can be subjective.
And this subjectivity plays a huge role in creativity. It means that each individual brings a unique perspective and set of interpretations to the creative process. The lectures even quote Suzanne Langer, who describes the brain as a transformer that shapes the raw data of experience through a stream of personal symbols.
So it's like we're each creating our own internal language, a symbolic system that reflects our individual understanding of the world.
Exactly.
No two people's mental dictionaries will be exactly the same.
That's the beauty of it. This diversity of perspectives is what fuels innovation and allows us to see the world in new and unexpected ways. And as we move into the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how these individual interpretations manifest in the creative process itself.
Let's get to it. I want to explore further.
Yeah.
Let's delve into this creative landscape
Mm.
and see how those personal symbols and languages translate into tangible creations.
Excellent. This next section distinguishes between two types of symbols.
Okay.
Systematic and schematic.
Okay.
Systematic symbols are those with strict rules governing their use,
So like math.
like language or mathematics. Schematic symbols, on the other hand, are more open-ended, like those found in art.
So to break it down with systematic symbols, there's a right and wrong way to use them.
Yes.
You have to follow the rules of grammar or mathematical formulas to make sense.
Right.
But with schematic symbols, the meaning is more fluid and open to interpretation. It's about the overall impact, the feeling it evokes.
Precisely. The lectures even quote Michael Polanyi's thought experiment of replacing every sentence with a unique word. In this scenario, language would lose all meaning because those words would have no shared, agreed-upon significance.
Yeah.
They would just be arbitrary sounds.
It's like trying to have a conversation using made-up words.
Yeah.
No one would understand what anyone else was saying. It highlights how crucial those shared rules and conventions are for meaningful communication.
And to further illustrate the difference between systematic and schematic symbols, the lectures use the example of a musical score and a play.
Okay.
The score itself is not the music, and the script is not the play.
Right.
They are simply the blueprints, the encoding of the creative idea.
Yeah.
The real experience comes from hearing the music performed or seeing the play come to life on stage.
It's a subtle but important distinction.
Yeah.
It's like appreciating the difference between reading a recipe and actually tasting the dish. The real magic happens when those symbols are translated into a tangible experience.
And that brings us to the heart of the creative process itself. These lectures define creativity as having original ideas with value and break it down into 3 stages:
Okay.
generation, elaboration, and evaluation.
So it's not just about having that initial flash of inspiration.
No.
It's about nurturing that spark, shaping it, and refining it until it becomes something meaningful and impactful.
And what's fascinating is that this creative process is essentially the same whether you're talking about art or science.
Mm.
It's just that the outcomes differ.
So a painter experimenting with different colors and textures is engaging in the same mental processes as a scientist testing different hypotheses in the lab.
Exactly. Both involve a lot of trial and error, a willingness to experiment and learn from mistakes. The lectures even quote the Nobel chemist Harry Kroto, who claimed his failure rate in the lab was around 95%.
95, wow. But as you said earlier, it's not really failure, it's part of the process of discovery.
Right.
Each experiment, whether it succeeds or fails, provides valuable information that guides the next step.
And the lectures also highlight the mathematician Terence Tao, who emphasizes the importance of trying and discarding wrong ideas in math. He sees it as an essential part of the creative journey.
Like that Albert Einstein quote, "Anyone who has never made a mistake has never tried anything new."
Exactly.
You have to be willing to take risks, to step outside your comfort zone if you want to create something truly original.
Which leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive, the value of originality.
Okay.
We'll explore how truly creative ideas often challenge the status quo and why it's so hard to recognize a groundbreaking idea when it first appears.
I'm intrigued. History is full of examples of ideas that were initially dismissed as crazy or impractical, only to become revolutionary breakthroughs later on.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder what potentially groundbreaking ideas are being overlooked right now. So we were talking about how sometimes, like really original ideas,
yeah,
they're met with resistance,
yeah,
even like ridicule when
totally.
they first emerge.
It's sad but true.
Makes you wonder how many great discoveries or ideas have been just tossed aside because they didn't fit in
Right.
with what people were thinking at the time.
The lectures actually give a really classic example.
Oh,
Michael Faraday's demonstration of electromagnetism.
oh yeah.
So at the time, people were blown away
Sure.
by the sparks and the magnetic effects, but they couldn't see any practical use for it at all.
Right,
But what use is it? They asked. And now, looking back,
right.
it's kind of funny.
In our world,
Yes.
it's like, of course,
It's everywhere.
it's everywhere.
Totally.
It's a potent reminder that what seems revolutionary in one era
Yeah.
can become commonplace in another.
Totally. Our understanding of the world is constantly evolving.
Right.
And what might seem outlandish today
Yeah.
could be the foundation of tomorrow's technology.
Absolutely.
And, this highlights the ever-shifting nature of how we perceive originality and value.
Right.
History is constantly reevaluating creative figures, elevating some while diminishing others, all based on changing cultural values and perspectives.
It's so true. There's no absolute measure of originality.
Right. What might be considered groundbreaking to one generation might be completely overlooked by another.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The lectures suggest that originality exists on different levels.
Okay.
It's not always about creating something entirely new to the world.
Right.
Sometimes it's about making a personal breakthrough,
Right.
seeing a connection that no one else has seen before, or finding a new way to express an old idea.
So even if I'm not inventing a new scientific theory or composing a symphony,
Right.
I can still experience originality in my own creative endeavors.
Absolutely. The lectures encourage you to consider this in your own life.
Okay.
What connections can you make that others might miss?
Right.
What unique perspective can you bring to your creative work?
It shifts the focus from some grand notion of genius
Yeah.
to like a more accessible
Yeah.
understanding of creativity as something we can all exactly.
And speaking of connecting seemingly disparate ideas,
Okay.
the lectures introduce Arthur Koestler's concept of bisociation.
By association.
Yeah. It's the idea that creative breakthroughs often happen when we make unexpected links between seemingly unrelated fields or concepts.
So it's like those aha moments
Yeah.
when you suddenly see how two completely different things
Exactly.
are actually connected in a surprising way.
Precisely. Bisociation is about breaking down the mental barriers we create between disciplines and allowing our minds to wander freely, making connections where others wouldn't. It's about embracing the unexpected and seeing the potential for innovation in the most unlikely of places.
This makes me think about the importance of interdisciplinary learning and collaboration.
Yeah.
If we want to foster creativity,
Right.
we need to encourage people to explore different fields, to cross-pollinate ideas, and to see the world through multiple lenses.
I completely agree. And as we delve into the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
finding your element.
Finding your element.
Yeah, we'll explore this idea further. Our lectures emphasize the importance of finding that sweet spot between creative freedom
Okay.
and technical mastery.
So it's not just about letting our imaginations run wild.
That's not enough. Right.
There's also a need for discipline and skill development.
Exactly. The lectures use the analogy of someone who can't play the piano.
Okay.
No matter how brilliant their musical ideas might be,
Right.
they'll be limited in their ability to express them without the technical skills to do so.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's like the old saying, practice makes perfect.
Right.
You can have all the creativity in the world, but without the skills to translate those ideas
Yeah.
into something real.
You got it.
They'll just stay as ideas.
And this leads to the distinction between personal
Okay.
and general creativity.
Okay.
General creativity refers to our ability to generate ideas and solve problems in a variety of contexts.
Okay.
Personal creativity, on the other hand, is more about that deep connection with a specific medium or field that truly ignites our passion.
So it's like the difference between being a generally creative person
Yeah.
and finding that one thing that makes you come alive, that makes you want to pour your heart and soul into it.
Precisely. The lectures share the story of Leonard Bernstein, who, as a child, fell head over heels in love with music the moment he first touched a piano. It was as if he had found his calling, his element.
That's beautiful.
And it reminds me of the porcelain maker, Nicholas Sprymont.
Okay.
He was a skilled silversmith, but he discovered his true passion when he began working with porcelain. It was as if this new medium unlocked a level of creativity he hadn't even known he possessed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So this deep dive is really encouraging us to not just explore the nature of creativity in general,
Yeah.
but also to reflect on our own creative journey.
You got it.
What's our element? What's that thing that makes us lose track of time? It makes us feel completely absorbed and energized.
That's a wonderful takeaway. And as we move into the next part of our exploration,
Okay.
the dance of intellect and emotion,
Ooh, the dance of intellect and emotion.
we're going to challenge the notion that creativity is purely an intellectual pursuit.
Okay, I'm ready.
We'll delve into the crucial role that feelings, intuition, and even a sense of aesthetics play in the creative process.
I'm ready to challenge those assumptions. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that creativity is all about logic and rationality,
I know, right?
but I have a feeling there's a lot more to it than that.
The lectures even quote a mathematician
Okay.
who talks about the beauty of the argument in a mathematical proof.
Okay.
He experiences an aesthetic appreciation much like an artist might appreciate the composition of a painting.
It's like that feeling when you see a really beautiful equation or formula.
Right.
You just know it's right, even if you can't quite explain why.
And the lectures trace this historical division between intellect and emotion back to the Enlightenment and Romanticism.
Okay.
The Enlightenment emphasized reason and logic,
Right.
while Romanticism celebrated feeling and intuition.
So we're still dealing with that legacy today.
Yeah, especially in our education systems.
Yeah.
We often prioritize STEM fields over the arts, perpetuating this idea that creativity belongs in one realm and logic in another. But these lectures suggest that this is a false dichotomy.
It is. It is.
The lectures mention David Hume, the Enlightenment philosopher, who dismissed anything not based on logic or empirical evidence as mere sophistry and illusion.
So he thought feelings and intuition were just distractions.
Pretty much, yeah. And this perspective contributed to the rise of behaviorism in psychology,
Right.
which focused solely on observable behavior, ignoring the rich inner world of thoughts and emotions.
It's almost as if we try to condition the creativity and emotion out of ourselves.
That's a good point.
But thankfully, there's been a pushback against this narrow view of the human experience.
Absolutely. The emergence of humanistic psychology, with figures like Carl Rogers,
Right.
shifted the focus to the whole person, emphasizing the importance of subjective experiences, emotions, and the search for meaning.
And that kind of connects to the personal growth movement that emerged in the 1960s, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was all about emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
authenticity, and finding meaning and purpose in life.
It was such a huge shift in thinking.
It was, for sure.
The lectures even connect this to Carl Rogers' observation that the decline of organized religion led to a hunger for alternative sources of meaning.
It's fascinating how these historical and cultural trends
Yeah.
have shaped our understanding of ourselves.
And it leads us to a crucial concept for the 21st century, right?
Absolutely, emotional intelligence.
Emotional intelligence, yeah.
Daniel Goleman's work in this area
Right.
has highlighted the importance of empathy,
Okay.
self-awareness,
Yeah.
and the ability to manage our emotions effectively.
And these soft skills,
Yeah,
they're so important
totally.
for success in our personal and professional lives.
Absolutely.
It's not just about what you know, it's about how you connect with others.
Right. How you navigate complex social situations and how you manage your own emotional responses.
And it reminds us that we're not just disembodied minds.
Right.
We're embodied beings.
We learn and grow
Exactly.
through our senses, through play, through interacting with the world around us. Remember that story you shared about your children finding more joy in a simple swing
Oh, yeah.
than an expensive computer game?
That's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most enriching experiences are those that connect us to our physical bodies and to the natural world.
It really is. And it kind of brings us to the final part
Yeah.
of our deep dive today.
Okay.
Beyond the lone genius.
Beyond the lone genius.
We're going to explore how this idea of being embodied
Right.
connects us to the larger web of culture that shapes our creativity
Right.
and gives meaning to our individual expressions.
It's a more expansive view of creativity, one that goes beyond the individual to encompass the collective forces that shape our understanding of the world.
I love that image of culture as a web we've all spun together. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It really highlights the interconnectedness of our individual experiences and expressions.
And the lectures emphasize that cultures are dynamic
Yeah.
and constantly evolving, often in unpredictable ways. Think about the explosive impact of rock and roll
Oh, yeah.
on Western culture.
It just defied all attempts to control or contain it.
It did. It really did.
It was a cultural phenomenon that emerged from the grassroots, driven by a combination of creativity, rebellion, and a desire for something new and authentic.
And then you have the rise of social media,
Right.
another example of how technology and basic human instincts can converge to create massive cultural shifts.
It's true.
No one could have foreseen how those early experiments with connecting computers
Right.
would lead to the social media landscape we have today.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive consumers of culture,
Yeah.
but active participants who shape its evolution through our choices, interactions, and creative expressions.
Absolutely. And speaking of creative expression, the lectures explore the fascinating interplay between the arts and technology
yeah.
throughout history. Think about how the invention of printing led to the emergence of the novel, or how photography freed painting from the constraints of representational accuracy.
It's so fascinating.
It's incredible how technology doesn't just create new tools,
Right.
but also opens up entirely new avenues for creative expression. It pushes us to rethink what art can be, what stories we can tell, and how we can connect with one another.
And now, with the rise of digital technologies,
Yeah.
we're in the midst of another creative revolution.
Oh, absolutely.
These technologies are democratizing creativity, giving more people access to tools for creating and sharing their work and fostering new forms of collaboration and innovation.
I completely agree.
It feels like we're all part of this vast, interconnected network of minds,
Yeah.
building on each other's ideas, inspiring one another, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
The lectures even quote Isaac Newton's famous line,
Oh.
"If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants."
We're all benefiting
Right.
from the creative legacy of those who came before us, and we each have the potential to contribute to that legacy in our own way.
That's a great way to put it.
And that brings us to the final point
Okay.
about collaboration.
Right.
The lectures highlight how individual creativity
Yeah.
is often fueled by the knowledge and ideas of others. It's not about working in isolation, but about engaging with that network,
Yeah.
being open to new perspectives, and working together to create something larger than ourselves.
There are so many inspiring examples of interdisciplinary collaboration happening right now.
Okay, like what?
The lectures describe the Primitive Streak Project,
Okay.
a collaboration between a fashion designer
Great.
and a developmental biologist.
Really?
Yeah, they created a collection inspired by human embryology.
That's amazing.
It's a great example of how breaking down those traditional barriers between disciplines
Right.
can lead to something truly innovative and engaging. It's about seeing connections where others don't and using different languages of creativity to explore new ideas and reach new audiences.
So it's not just about the final product.
No, it's about the process.
It's about the journey.
Exactly. And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
It
It's
is.
a reminder that creativity isn't just about producing a masterpiece or making a groundbreaking discovery.
Right. It's more about like engaging with the world,
Totally.
with each other,
Yeah.
and with the ideas that shape our lives.
It's about recognizing that we're all part of this incredible ongoing conversation.
That's a good way to put it.
And we each have the power to contribute to it in our own unique way.
I like that. Yeah.
Perhaps the most powerful creative act is not producing a work of art or a scientific theory,
Right.
but shaping the culture itself, contributing to that shared web of meaning
Yeah.
that connects us all.
That's beautiful. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I
Yeah.
hope you, the listener, are feeling inspired
Yeah.
to continue exploring these ideas, to see the world through a creative lens, and to find your own unique way of contributing to the grand tapestry of human culture. Thanks for joining us on this journey.